Hello friends, welcome to Mindful Journaling. Today's prompt says, sit quietly for a few minutes and observe your thoughts with no judgment. What have you observed about your thoughts? As you notice your thoughts, wait for a moment of emptiness. Try to extend that emptiness. Do you notice anything? How do you feel?
This is perfect for this week's prompt. This says right here, the little girl just could not sleep because her thoughts were way too deep. Her mind had gone out for a stroll and fallen down a rabbit hole. This is me all the time.
Friends, I'm going to go ahead and do an art journaling page this week, just like I did last week. The first part of the prompt said to sit quietly for a few minutes and observe my thoughts with no judgment. And then it asks, what have I observed about my thoughts? And so this is what I wrote. And once we get through the first part, then I'll share the second part. But I wrote, I notice that my thoughts are sporadic and unfocused. I jump from thought to thought with no pause at all, and it don't stay in the same realm. So I just want to chat with you for a minute, and then I'll continue with the prompts. But sometimes when I'm sharing this with you, I like to give a little bit more information that maybe I hadn't thought about while I was writing. So that is how my mind is, and it seems to race all the time. And I know that that is part of having attention deficit disorder, which I don't really consider it to be a disorder. I think it can be a great thing to have, and I think it can be a gift to have. But I do know that it also interrupts my life. It interrupts me. It interrupts what I'm doing. I know that probably many of you share similar situation in your life where it's difficult to complete tasks because let's say you're even just doing the laundry and then you look across the room at something that catches your eye and you leave the laundry to go do whatever that something was. Then you realize, oh, I was actually doing the laundry. So it's that sort of thing that can happen. And it can make things difficult. So that's why I have to write lists, because at least then I can go back to that and go, oh yeah, that's what I was working on. I need to get that done today. I also think that one of the reasons I love creating so much, well, obviously I'm a creative person, but one of the reasons I'm really able to sink into it and actually complete a journal or a collage or whatever it is that I'm working on is because I'm interested in it, I'm able to hyperfocus. And if you have attention deficit disorder, or you know somebody that does, you may or may not have noticed that that person can hyperfocus. And when hyperfocus kicks in, we lock in. Our brain just locks in, and we're able to sit and focus for a very long time. Now, that only works when we're working on things that we're interested in. You can't force a hyperfocus, and you can't hyperfocus on things that you're not interested in. It just doesn't work like that for the ADHD brain. I'm not intending this to be a lesson on ADHD, but I do think it's worth mentioning because many of you may have it, or you may know somebody who has it, or you may have a grandchild that has it, or something like that. And if you don't understand it, it can be frustrating. So it's really important to understand the gift that it is. And many people with ADHD are highly creative, and they're very inventive. And I notice that I am pretty inventive. And I don't want to get into all that, but suffice to say, I can come up with things that I guess I can look at something differently than maybe many people and come up with solutions in a way that maybe a lot of people didn't think of. My husband will always come to me when he's troubleshooting because I always look at it different. So it's just kind of an interesting thing. And an ADHD brain is like, they say, it's like you can compare, it's like having a race car engine, but it's stuffed into a Volkswagen. So that's just how our brains are. They're on go all the time. And that's just how it is. So that's what I have to live with. But it does help me be creative. It does help me be inventive. And so I just accept it for what it is and I embrace the gift that it can be. Let's get on to the second part of the prompt. It says, as you notice your thoughts, wait for a moment of emptiness. Try to extend that emptiness. Do you notice anything? How do you feel? And this is what I wrote about that. I can get to a moment of emptiness, but it's not a moment. So meaning it's shorter than a moment. It is difficult for me to retain the emptiness. Once I release hold of the emptiness, it's as though everything rushes back in, like it has lost time and needs to make up for it. I did notice as I was trying to capture the emptiness, I felt calm and still. It might be good for me to continue this practice. And I do think it might be good. I'm done reading from what I wrote. I do think it might be good for me because my brain does race. And, just trying to sit, and I guess we would call that meditating. Just sit, relax, embrace the quiet, try to find that emptiness. I did notice my body calm down and my mind calm down, and that was quite nice. So maybe I'll continue to practice this, especially if I'm anxious or stressed. It might come in really handy. Now that I've shared my writing prompts, I want to talk about the collage that I'm making. And again, the words are purposeful. The images that I chose are purposeful. So I chose those red stripes that you see on the left-hand side because they look a little chaotic to me. And that's how I feel a lot of the time. And then the matching, well, it doesn't match, but it's the red paper with sort of sporadic writing on it. That would represent sort of my brain and how it operates sometimes. And then already on the page of the journal, it already said, the hurrier I go. And I think that was perfect. And then I think on the bottom it says, the top says, the hurrier I go. And then it says, the behinder I get. Yes. And that does fit my life. And then I cut out the words seems impossible. And I cut out the word confetti. And also the words create and enjoy. So I chose those because confetti just sort of, when I'm really in a creative mode, my brain is a little bit like just confetti shooting around. It's just all over the place. It's firing on all pistons. It's just go time. And so that's why I chose that. And then seems impossible, I guess I picked that because sometimes that's how I feel about certain things in my life. Like it seems impossible sometimes for me to complete a task or to clean an entire room or to just finish things. It's really, really hard for me. And honestly, you guys, I probably should be on medication for it, but I really don't want to do that because I'm so afraid that it'll change my creative mind, and I can't do that. So at any rate, that's the deal on that. The black cat on the red paper, it says crazy cat on it, and also it says poetic, quirky, and prone to surreal. And that was what somebody wrote about this particular cartoon. And I feel like sometimes that does represent me and how my brain functions, how my thoughts function, because that's really what this is about this week is our thoughts. So then I added the words enjoy and create because no matter what I'm dealing with, I do try to enjoy it. I always love to be creative, um, and that those words are always part of my thought patterns. And then I added the word family up there. And because you guys know that my life truly does center around my family, so I'm always thinking about them and always just caring about them and trying to help them out and work for them. So I have this piece of transparent, it's almost mesh. And so it's a perfect square. I got this from my friend Carol at Crafted by Carol. And I'm just adding that on for some texture and interest. I also received this piece from my friend Carol at Crafted by Carol. It's so pretty. And there's a blue corner. And I'm going to go ahead and tear that off. And I'm going to try it in a few different spots to see where it would look best, but I think I'm pretty much loving it in the bottom right hand corner. I want to be sure to mention that if you'd like to join along, you sure can. All the prompts are in my community tab and description box. Friends, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you giving me all the support and love that you've been giving me during this particular series. And I hope you enjoyed this art journal page today. I enjoyed putting it together. It's easy for me to art journal my thoughts and emotions, but it's not as easy for me to sort of translate what I'm trying to say to you guys through the art. So I apologize if I sounded a little scattered, but it's just, this is sort of new and different for me, but I am enjoying it. Thanks for watching. See you soon.